This is a supplement to my 12 Nights of Corruption. It's one night of idiocy. Nancy Grace lacks a great deal of perspective as a lawyer. She was merely a prosecutor. She knows nothing about anything other than that. She has her good days even as a prosecutor, and sometimes she goes off the deep end with her prosecutorial knowledge, taking her views to a point that probably she thinks will attract an audience, at least, even if it's somewhat extreme. I've been watching the O.J. days off and on when she's talked about O.J. and him not doing the right thing. Well, not paying a judgment is nothing compared to what O.J. was convicted of in civil court, and what he was convicted of in the public's eyes, for that matter. So him not paying voluntarily as a good citizen a judgment that's so large that he'd never have a cent if he paid everything to them. He could take out his pension and pay it, sure, but it is judgment proof. He could give over his home, sure, but it is judgment proof. So he doesn't do that, nor does he pay the checks that he receives, nor the cash that he takes out in bags from all these shows. It is highly incumbent upon Nancy Grace to stop with the idiocy as though she knows something about the law. She does not. And the people she brings on are barely adequate. The only one that said something close to reality was the black defense attorney, who admitted he was a defense attorney and that was not his realm. But he said the way you do it is you take a deposition in aid of execution, maybe monthly if you have to keep track of what his doings are, because he has no steady paycheck. That's a partially correct answer. If you can get away with it, I think O.J. merits monthly depositions in aid of execution, but you also can do other things. You can ask the right questions, and you could have taken this deposition a long time ago. You can keep track of his income tax returns. You have that right. He does not have a privilege when he owes that kind of funds. He either pays the funds or he shows up with his income tax returns. What has he done with that $1 million? No one has recognized that if he has any brains, he's paid a goodly large sum of it, more than the taxes that are owed to the federal government. You can garnish the refund that is due him. You can find out where anything else happens to be, and you can track the money to the extent possible using the corporation records. They may well have used a checking account for the corporation, and you can take a deposition in aid of execution of that corporation once you establish his ownership of it in the first deposition. It is shocking that the attorneys have not had depositions with a $33 million judgment. That you could easily get a local Florida law firm to take it on contingency, and to take it on also not only contingency, but for the fame it would bring them, setting O.J. down for a deposition in aid of execution. Nancy Grace, you're not the only idiot if this has not been done. Those lawyers should be shocked. I had a judgment that for 20 years sat on a piece of property and nobody did any title work on the name that the judgment attached to find out that it definitely clouded the title for 20 years. But you may be assured on the 20th year and first day thereafter, when the statute of limitations of the recorded judgment ended, the property was sold, free and clear, with title insurance. In Florida, we use title insurance. You know so little about the area of property law, and real estate is where you typically can be sure to collect judgments because you record them, you domesticate them, and that only got brought up once, and it is suspected that the O.J. judgment has not been domesticated by these brilliant lawyers, or the good lawyers who did show that you may be acquitted for the right reason or the wrong reasons in criminal court, but it's still a preponderance of the evidence in civil court. So Nancy Grace, learn a thing or two. And if you want to learn about judicial corruption, if you want to have a real show, if you dare discuss how corrupt Florida judges are with a lawyer who knows a lot more than you do about these subject areas, you can have a good couple shows with it. But nobody cares about judicial corruption, and those that do care to keep it off the air. And you might well have a producer or an owner of your network who controls your network, who will not have any desire to talk about judicial corruption and instances without naming names of how it occurs and how to stop it. So, that's why I made the tape, not to criticize you, but to alert you that somebody out there knows more about more things of interest than you might imagine. I know where the most corrupt county is. Do you? I know why it can be proven to be the most corrupt county. Do you? This is a topic that America needs to know, and I think you care enough to try to get it on the air. I respect you, Nancy Grace, not as a broad lawyer, but as a prosecutor who has a heart and speaks from the heart more times than you do from your education. I handled closings for lawyers that were civil lawyers, but they knew nothing about real estate, and they knew it. And I told them I'd tell them how, and I'd train them, and they said, no, we just want to pay you. We don't like that stuff. We don't want to learn that stuff. We know you know that stuff. We'll pay you. So you're not the only one. But if you want to show 10 shows, I got them. I would have had more, except that a lot of the evidence has been destroyed in order to obstruct justice.